Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for the most awaited part of today's summit, which is the panel discussion, which will be on driving automation and digitalization in process industry. Today's discussion will be hosted by Mr. Shekhar Jitkar, the Chief Editor at Publish Industry India. Now we can see the names of the panelists today. I would request all the panelists to please turn on your cameras and your audio only once your names have been announced, so that our audience will know exactly who you are. So our panelists are Mr. Vivek Gupta, the Assistant Vice President and Head Instrumentation DCM Shriram. Then there's Mr. Dharmender Singhal, the Head of Department Technology Digitalization, Aldo Topso, India. Then there's Mr. GNV Subbarao, Director ABB Global Industries and Services. And there's Mr. Atul Govil, the Chief Transformation Officer at India Glycols. So over to you, Mr. Jitkar.
Thanks, really. Good evening, everyone. Hope you all are doing well and taking good care of yourselves. My apologies for this little delay in the sessions. So it's my pleasure to moderate today's panel discussion on driving automation and digitalization in the chemical and pharma industry. And I would like to personally thank each of the panel speakers for their participation in the discussion today. So with COVID-19 evolving at unprecedented speed and scale, manufacturing companies are grappling with its immediate impact as both their production as well as the supply chain operations are being disrupted. So in this scenario, adjusting operations in real time calls for a new approach to everything we do, be it the products we manufacture or the processes we use, the safety measures we follow, the technologies which we deploy, and the way we respond to market requirements, and the way we communicate, and most importantly, the manner we manage workforce in the current situation. So it becomes very important to understand and analyze how the industry operations would be now and in future in terms of the challenges anticipated, the resource availability, and the approach to the new technologies such as digitalization, the collaborative robots, the additive manufacturing, artificial intelligence on the production operations. The chemical and pharma industries are in the midst of profound change. Now the digital transformation in the industry is presenting very immense, largely unexplored new potential to not only increase efficiencies in the current challenging times, but also to help companies increase innovation in products and solutions. So that means in turn design and produce novel products and processes, lowering the carbon footprint throughout the product life cycle, which is very important in today's context. So by embarking on digital transformation, chemical and pharma companies can become more agile, innovative, responsive, and efficient. And the adoption will likely create more intimate relationships among the chemical and pharma companies, their customers, and the end markets. So this collaborative approach powered by the digital will likely help the industry tackle the issues of tomorrow more holistically. So in this context, today we will discuss and deliberate on the current industry operations, the challenges faced, the role of advanced technologies, like the modern automation and digitalization, and examples from the industry. So with this, I will ask the first question to Mr. Vivek Gupta. So there had been a stoppage in the production as well as the huge supply chain disruption, partly or fully due to COVID-19 pandemic crisis. So the industry is now slowly coming back with its operation. So what steps do you think the industry should take to stay on track and make most of the revival at the time where people are advised to maintain social distancing? Would you like to give examples of best practices in the current situation from your organization?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Shekhar. And first of all, thank you to the public industry for giving me this particular opportunity. Yes, very true. You have told that in the social distancing, especially in the process industries, we have a lot of issues regarding the labor work. Now, there are two kinds of things. One is the operation of the plant from the centralized control room, and other things regarding packing, dispatches, and the manual rounds in the plants. So what we have done at our DCM Shriram is right from the entry till the person goes back, he is being tracked. Tracked means his health is being tracked every 4th or 5th day. The occupational health person comes and takes his temperature and the oxygen levels, number one. Number two, in the initial days when there was a lockdown, but urea being a government controlled commodity, we had to continue with our production. So what we did was we had called the people, they were inside the plant and they were served the food inside the plant itself, so that that risk of those people getting in touch with those who are suffering from COVID was avoided, number one. Number two, the mask and sanitizer was given to each and every one inside the complex. Number three, we had placed the CCTV cameras to ensure that the kind of social distancing is being followed. These cameras are already at place, but more surveillance is now being put. The control room people, they have been told to be vigilant on that. And one more thing was that the manpower was continuously coming inside the plant. But how do we ensure that we work with the optimized manpower? Now, this was the time period of the people who were coming was staggered. Similarly, the canteen where the people were going was staggered, so that not all the people go to the canteen at a time. And the best thing which was done was the people were told to bring food from home. If it's not possible, the food boxes were given, so that we can avoid their touching to each other, and we can maintain the social, distancing also. That is the best step which was done. And then the most important part in this particular COVID period was to have a safe startup and to avoid any kind of incidents or accidents that we have heard. The Naveli lignite plant and many other plants suffered an accident. So here what we did was a very, very thorough and a very systematic kind of plant startup was taken. And for that, as a part of digitization and control and instrumentation, we had done the startup checks prior to actually the process start. So this ensured that there is no accident taking place, number one. Number two, all the gas detectors which were there inside the plant as well as at the boundary lines, they were very thoroughly checked for their healthiness, because for some period they were not in service, just to ensure that in case of any accident, any gas leakage, those things can be alerted to the centralized security control room as well as in the plant. So this is the kind of a thing which was ensured in our, various plants.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's perfectly what you already elaborated. That's the need of the hour. So I will come to the next question to Mr. Singhal. So how technology, automation and digitalization played or may play in future a decisive role in de-risking the business in crisis times like this? And what should be the right approach to the deployment of advanced technologies in the current situation to continue the business with the same efficiency and productivity and remain relevant?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Shekhar, and I am glad to be part of this panel discussion with other eminent speakers. You have asked a very relevant question, and if I really see, in industry, everybody is talking about this question nowadays. But in my opinion, like automation and digitalization play a vital role in de-risking the business crisis, as we can gain efficiency and productivity by, implementing a correct solution for the businesses. We can also eliminate wastes to make profitable businesses. And I think manpower heavy work or processes where unsafe working conditions shall be definitely automated or digitized. I can just bring one very simple example from chemical plants. We are technology licensor for ammonia plant, and Mr. Vivek can also confirm about this example. Like there is a human interaction which is required when you need to operate a reformer, to mitigate the risk of operation. And it is necessary during this human operation that you need to keep opening a peephole and observing a flame inside the reformer, because this can has a huge impact on this 1 or 2 degree temperature. What you are maintaining is having a huge impact on your production goals. But if the temperature is high, then you are risking life of a tube inside the reformer. But this is a very risky health hazard, and this is the way industry is operating maybe many years actually. But we have come up with a solution by which automatically you can monitor and you can get the data 24/7 at a safe place. So there can be experts who are sitting remotely, either in your control room or remotely, and they can analyze and guide the operations. So what I wanted to say, like, we need to look into what are the pain points and what can be the correct business cases where we should look for optimal solutions around automation and digitalization. So in this way, I think we can ensure profitability and efficiency and continuity of business operations.
Yeah, I will pass on the same question to Mr. Subbara. So what do you think, what should be the approach from the user industry to deployment of modern automation systems or digitalization technologies so as to have the business running in the same efficiency and profitability?
Thank you, Shekhar. I hope I'm audible.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, and thanks for having me in this. And when I look at it from another, because I represent ABB, who's essentially a supplier of automation and digital solutions and products. When I look at it from that and from that angle and look at what our customers have been doing in the past and the situation now, I would summarize saying that as compared to the past, today, everything is, a lot of things are uncertain. I wouldn't call everything, but a lot of things are uncertain. And these uncertain times calls for very agile, very flexible, and also in a way try and be predictive about the future as based on data. So that is what I guess the manufacturers and of the chemical and in the chemical and pharma, as with other industries, they need to do. Flexibility, agility, with a focus on quality and cost is what is needed. Automation traditionally have been doing that in its own way, but then now the automation, I would say, configuration and structure is changing as per the requirements, and the requirements are of course driven by the end users. There are many, I would say, industries and companies globally that are driving flexible and modular plants as opposed to the monoliths which existed earlier. So today the automation is evolving also into being a modular system and a very flexible system that would help the industry to be modular, flexible, and agile. That's number one. And then on top of it, as shown by many of the presenters earlier, you have the digitalization umbrella or the digitalization layer, which opens up enormous, I would say, enormous possibilities. And that's because of the amount of data that can be accessed. That is number one. The amount of data that can be stored, which gives huge access to information through the data. Now, information is the key for many of the decisions that can be taken, many business decisions and the plant decisions. So without getting into details, I would say that the business decisions that would be taken in the future and even now should be guided rightly by the information coming out of data, and the plant should be operated in a very holistic manner based on the data and information which comes from the plant, through the sensors, etc., and accumulated at the data lakes. So this is how everything is opening up to new opportunities, to new ways of looking at things. And I guess this was anyway going to happen eventually. This route was very clear, but the uncertainties and the challenges that the pandemic, COVID, has brought in has only accelerated this, and I'm sure everybody would gear up for that. So automation and digital would be a huge leverage in sort of helping the industries gear up to these uncertain times.
Yeah, that's perfect. I will now ask next question to Mr. Govil, and thanks for confirming your participation in such a short notice. So you already explained in your presentation about the automation and digitalization, I can say the pyramid and the next steps. So what would be the road ahead to turn the current disruption into an opportunity for India to emerge as a leader in the chemical or pharma manufacturing with the help of these advanced technologies?
I think there are these 3-4 strategies we'll have to think through, and I think within pharma and chemicals also, each set of, because a bulk pharma or a bulk chemical versus a specialty chemical, each one has its own strengths and challenges. Okay, so but just a broad view of about the key strategies which comes to mind right now is, and what we have used to some extent is, first of all, in this current state, you have to figure out how do you recover revenue of your enterprise to the maximum extent. So that's the key focus, because that's only will fund or will sustain operations. So you'll have to figure out measures how to recover revenue. When I say measures to recover revenue, I would say that as organizations, we need to figure out what exactly is the customer willing to pay for today. Like, give you an example, like say in hospitality, people who are not traveling, so they're not willing to pay for that. So you will have to think through what do we serve, and how do we serve, and where do we serve, so that the customer actually is willing to pay. So that is one. So, and then you analyze the demand signals in real time. So how is the demand shaping up? And accordingly, need to adapt quickly to ensure that your supply chain and the associated services offerings are able to cater to those changing demands and changing requirements, so that you are able to successfully navigate through the recovery cycle. So that's the core. Second is, you also have to do a reflection, because the last 3-4 months have been the most I would say, it shook our beliefs. Everything was shaken up. Okay, so the way we worked, the way we maintained our equipments, the way we produced, everything was questioned, everything was shaken up. In fact, the one was the lockdown state, the other when we had this partial lockdown, wherein organizations and manufacturing companies like us, we were asked to operate with 30% or 50% manpower. And then you had to also look at the safety aspects. You had to look at the other vulnerabilities, look at the inventory and other aspects. I'm sorry, I'll have to put my mobile on mute for a while. Just hold on, please. Mute. It's okay. Sorry. So so this is that's one. Then when you look at those issues which you faced during the lockdown, what were the hampering, what were the limitations, constraining aspects which were there? It's like creating. I come from a process plant, so I give you an example. Like, suppose while you are running a plant for a year or 2 years, then you have a turnaround period wherein you shut down the plant, you take a plant shutdown, and you do a shutdown maintenance. Likewise, this is the time wherein you look at those issues which actually were a constraining factor during the lockdown or the partial lockdown period. Identify it, create a list department-wise, process-wise, and then try to figure out how do we create a new normal, how do we reorient the processes and the working, so that in case such a situation again arises, you are at least prepared to a larger extent. You may not be fully prepared, of course, but at least you are fully, to a larger extent, you are prepared. So that's one. So, and when you are doing that list of initiatives identification, you have to do a neutral analysis, because sometimes I also have seen that, especially the heads of departments of different, it could be maintenance, operations, and supply chain, and because these individuals are typically in the age group of 50 to 55, they are not so tech oriented. I'm just saying so. I'm not giving it as a blanket statement, but typically, so they are less tech savvy than the fresh individuals who are there. So we will have to come out with a neutral view of what are those action points which we need to take, so that there is no bias that we should not be doing it, or if we do this, we will.
Yes, that's currently the challenge.
Correct. So they so under some guise, they would like to see that things go on as usual. So we will have to actually challenge the whole way of working, and then once you have that list, then you review the impact on earnings and the company's ability to execute those initiatives quickly to prioritize the action point. And last but not the least, I just want to add is that you have to carve out a dedicated and an enthused team with the domain experts across departments to drive these filtered set of initiatives. So that, and then you show success by starting with the ones which are achievable as low-hanging fruit, so that you build the morale and sustain the buy-in of the top management. That's very important.
Correct. That's true.
And so these are few things. I just wanted to add. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Mr. Goel, just a request. If you can just turn your laptop little bit down so that your face is fully visible.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. So sorry.
Yeah.
Is it better?
Yes, yes, it's better now.
Okay, so sorry.
Yeah, good. Thanks for your views. I will turn to Mr. Gupta now. So, what do you think? You have the huge experience of the industry in instrumentation field and in automation. So, what do you think are the technology adoption levels for digitalization or say modern automation systems in the Indian industry? And do you think the Indian factories are fully ready to adopt advanced technology concepts like Industry 4.0, IoT, etc., in terms of the supporting infrastructure, then skills, and then security concerns?
Mr.
Yeah,
Vivek,
Mr. Gupta, your mic is, I think, muted. Your microphone is muted. Can you just unmute that?
Yeah. Sorry,
Yes.
sorry.
Yes,
So
now it's
industry
perfect.
4.0 or industrial IoT, we have been talking for last 2-3 years. And as Mr. Subbarao was telling, automation have always been the priority of any process industry because that ensures the smooth operation, the faster response time, and the safety of the particular plant. So as far as the Indian industry are concerned, I would like to put up in a way that in process industries, it is still in the nascent stage because the technologies are not proven. There is not one single window where you can get the software and hardware and the sensors and the technology and the commitment. As Madam was telling in her presentation, that as a ISA, they can guide for that. But since I have been involved in this process, I have seen that the person who is supporting you for a kind of a digitization effort, like in the rotary machines, the vibration and the temperature, these two are the most important parameters. If we talk about the old plants, in some old plants, these two parameters were not being measured. They are as of time measured based on the feedback of the field rounds. So what is suggested is that for the old compressors, motors, where the vibration levels, whenever they go high and which can result into the stoppage of the plant. So there has to be a methodology, there has to be a sensor which can support us. So I have seen, and we have done a demo, a kind of a pilot project for last almost a year. And the kind of response we got from that party was excellent because those people were quite knowledgeable in that field. So technology for the sake of technology is never going to help us unless it results in a lesser maintenance, on demand maintenance only, lesser accidents. Just I give you an kind of an example that in our in our various plants we had some new things which were to be installed. Now, as a part of calling an expert from outside quota was not possible because of the COVID reasons. So here the technology was used. We installed a mercury analyzer in a power plant, which we recently installed. Now the whole process of installation till commissioning, till showing the fever to the pollution control board was done all online with the remote support. So things are possible. Earlier we were thinking that this won't be possible until an expert comes from outside, guides us. So these things can be done. Secondly, the same kind of thing is that we have some performance calculation packages in our plant for a power plant. Again, this thing was done online. So with the pace of the industry moving right around with the newer technologies, everything is possible. Only thing is that it needs to be standardized. And as far as the remote support giving your system on internet, the data security has to be 100% ensured because unless it has a data diode means the information flows only from one direction. That has to be ensured. Otherwise, a lot of cyber security cases have taken place during this time because most of the people are using the internet. But we have ensured that our DCS in DCM quota plant is independent of internet. So whatever information a kind of industry development has been taken place, they are independent of DCS. So we are not feared of that data being taken by somebody else. So this is a kind of a thing. But as far as I think that in India, the industries, specifically the process industries like fertilizer, or we can say a power plant or a chemical or calcium carbide, PVC, they are still in the nascent stage,
Mhm.
just looking what are the kind of things available in the market, and safety has always to be on the top. If these things are meeting the safety standards, then only we can go and implement this
Mhm.
in our plants.
Okay, okay. So a lot of things needs to be done on this front from the
Yes,
industry side.
sure, sure.
Okay, okay. Dr. Subbarao, you have anything to add in this? You have worked with a lot of process industries, your customers. So what do you think? What is your experience in dealing with them?
Yeah, I agree to a lot of points with Mr. Gupta brought out now. But I should say the adoption levels and the readiness for adoption depends on the industry. Now, when you look at the
Mhm.
chemical and the pharma, or mostly the chemical and the petrochemical industry, there's a huge amount of risks that are carried because of safety concerns. I mean, safety on the safety side. So they are a little bit, so also the oil and gas, they are a little bit conservative in their approach, and rightly so. But there are many other industries, when you talk about industries in general, who have made a lot of steps, who have taken a lot of steps in adapting the digitalization. Now, I'm not talking here about automation, because automation has already been sort of
Mhm.
proven, and it's an established sort of practice in most industries. But when I look at digitalization, I think it's only a mental hurdle to be crossed. And when I look at India specifically, I think we have a number of advantages, in the sense that we can, of course, make a leapfrog on the technology side. That is definitely possible, like how it's been done in many areas, including the telecommunication and the things that we have seen in the recent past. That's a possibility. But let me tell you, having seen the situation across the world, what Mr. Gupta said and what I said earlier about the process and the chemical and the petrochemical industry being a little bit conservative is applicable to that industry in general globally. It's not just a case of India. So having
Okay.
said that, if you take the case of India specifically, I think with the ecosystem that many of the speakers spoke about earlier, which is a very important, I would say, influencer and a very important contributor to the adoption of digitalization, we are blessed in India. We probably are blessed in India because of the IT capabilities that exist in India. We're also blessed because of the demographies, because of the young population that are more adaptable to these sort of technologies, and it's in their blood, it's in their system, so it becomes that much more easier. So the ecosystem is quite healthy, the talent pool is quite good, and it's only a matter of how much of risks we are prepared to take, and how much of investments we are able to make. And when I talk about the investment, fortunately, on the digitalization, as rightly said, brought out by Madam Sujata, it's not necessary that you make a big scale, big bang investment. There are many opportunities wherein you make the smaller investments and then grow on top of it. You go on expanding it. But one care to be taken here is that when you make those small investments, we better make it with in the right technologies, so that we don't find ourselves hitting a wall when we want to expand or when we want to grow. So please invest in the right technologies and find the right technology partner. If you take care of these two, then the investments can be a sort of I would say creeping investment, and not those big bang ones. So given this advantage that the
Okay.
digitalization has, I think there is a lot of opportunity. And
Right.
but for me, the other thing which I somehow wanted to mention here is that having come from the technology side and the provider side of the solutions, I can confidently say that for many more years now, in the future, let's say at least the next 3 to 4 years or 5 years, technology in these areas will not be a limiting factor. That will not be the constraint. I think the technology is ready for at least the next few years. It's only a matter of how the industries adapt this. And when I say this, I don't mean to say that it's easy and the industry is not doing it. Let's be clear about it. There's a huge cultural sort of a initiative that we should be taking, and many speakers spoke about it. It's not enough that one technology group sitting in a corner says that we have to do this and we can do this. It's never going to happen. It has
True,
to be
true.
embedded in all parts of the organization. It has to be a bottoms up approach, as rightly pointed out by the speakers earlier, and only then this is going to succeed. So it is more of a people and more of a cultural issue that we have to deal with right now, and not the technology issue. Maybe we will hit a roadblock on technology side a few years later, I don't know. But next few years, I don't think technology will be the limiting factor. It is going to be the culture and the way we adapt this, which is going to be a area that we have to work on. I would say this.
Right, the mindset which
the mindset, and our ability to involve all the entire organization, because digitalization, be clear, I think I'm very clear with my experience here, will not work as an isolated entity or an isolated solution coming from one group. It is going to be a part of every function. It is going to be a part of every part of the industry, and that's the way we have to see it.
Correct. Like Mrs. Tilak has already mentioned about it has to be like different partners.
Yeah, and Mr. Goyal also rightly pointed out that it has to be embedded. It has to be in the culture and the systems of the people, irrespective of which function, irrespective of which plant, or irrespective of which layer of hierarchy.
Correct. Very valid points. Yeah, Mr. Singhal, would you like to share your organization's experience in the digital transformation journey, maybe pre-COVID era and during COVID era?
Yeah, maybe instead of going pre-COVID or COVID, I would like to start a little historical things. Like so, I'll say that digitalization is not new into our organization. It was we are an old company, around 75 years or maybe 80 years old company. So we started carrying out our calculations, especially the relationship between the design of converters and their efficiency. Once the first Danish computer, which is DASK, which was introduced in year 1961. And that time, the input for these calculations were delivered to this computer by telex code. And the output, which was output of these computers, were either picked by a company shopper or sent by taxi. So, yeah, but that is very, very historical time. But we started our Industry 4 journey around a couple of years back. So what we did, we took this Industry 4 wheel, and then we did a mapping of like what can be potential usage of these different, you can say, initiatives around Industry 4, and try to map it with our businesses. So, and we then did a continuous focus on aligning what are our organizational needs, because I agree with earlier speakers and also in the panel when eminent speaker are talking about. I think, see, when we are talking about digitalization, we should not fall in love to the technology. Actually, I feel it should be more of a business requirement, and we need to see what output or what outcome we are looking by implementing or by taking this as a journey. So when we are executing this Industry 4. What we are also seeing that the change management is very critical aspect of, and when I talk about change management, it is more of linking to other people actually. So each and every person of the organization should be part of this journey. But then there are several steps which you need to take to achieve that as a goal. So what I see, like, it cannot be successful if the whole organization is not able to appreciate or not able to adopt the usage of this technology. Now we are also offering some of the services and products. So we have taken the next steps around our digital journey. And what I see, some of the accelerator for us are, like, first is how to deliver in agile way. So the project model. In our conventional projects, like, it is more of a milestone based or waterfall project model which we were following. But for when we are rolling out project around digitalization, then this agile way or a different project model was very critical part of the rollout. Then how to leverage the technology effectively. and how to be outcome focused. As I said, instead of falling into the love of technology, we should always see what outcome we are looking from the technology. And one more critical or maybe an important point was how to fail fast and maybe learn from the failures, because sometimes we try to work around the idea, and we try to put a lot of efforts that this idea should be a successful, but it's not necessity when we are going through a digital journey. So if we feel, or if we are concluding this idea is not good, then make it as a that this is a failed idea, but learn from it and then start a new initiatives. So these are the inputs from my side based on
Yes,
experience.
perfect. Yeah, Mr. Govil, what do you think? I will ask this question to both Mr. Govil and Mr. Subbarao, that from the end user as well as the service provider point of view. So, what are the factors that will drive the return on investment and the business outcomes with the digital transformation? And any recommendations on do's and don'ts in this area, Mr. Govil?
I think, first of all, outcomes could be in terms of whether this intervention is reducing manual effort, okay, whether it is helping us to optimize on our inventory levels, suppose whether it drives just-in-time kind of initiatives. How is it impacting our energy consumptions? Okay, is it because of the visibility, real-time visibility of specific steam consumption, specific power consumption, or any such utility consumption? If with the real-time visibility available, how are we able to leverage that to fine-tune our operations to run at the most optimal 24/7, not just because a particular human is skillful or not, is still are able to maintain those threshold levels. Second is on quality aspects. Quality, it cuts both ways. If you have poor quality, you have rejections. But if you are giving a far better quality than what the customer demands, you are actually over your costs. You are having cost overruns. So you are basically not able to recover that cost which you are producing today, because the customer is saying, no, I want this quality, but still you are giving 20% better quality parameter. So you will also have to figure out that, no, all these factors, how does it play into your economics? Because ultimately everything boils down to economics, because no business, unless somebody is in NGO or something, nobody does anything for charity. So we'll have to drive and connect everything to economics. Now I also want to highlight, one of our panelists was mentioning that the whole enterprise has to be digitally aware. I have a slightly different view. What my view is, so first of all, you have to create out pockets of excellence and showcase it to the larger enterprise, that this is what we have done and this is what it entailed and what it created, how it created value for us. And they become like a showcase. And using that showcase, you can scale out in different areas. And also you don't have to digitize everything for the sake of digitization. Also, I'm mentioning, you have to figure out why exactly we need to do it, because there are certain things which has to be done manually. You continue doing it manually. If it is not adding any delta value to the whole setup, why do you automate? Because you automate mess, you create a bigger mess, so to say. So you will have to think through. And as rightly said by one of the speakers, I think Rausab also mentioned that, no, it's about people first, because only three factors are there: people, process, technology. Technology, as very well illustrated, is not a limiting factor today. Okay, it's all available. It's only the application of the technology is what is important. And then process also is a factor, that how the people involved would try to run their operations. So that's the process part. So it's the people part which is the core here. And transformation, digital transformation, digitization, all these terms, they will always remain fancy words or a hype, I will say, till the time we focus on the skill development, till the time we engage the younger generation on driving some of these initiatives within the enterprise, and then we create those showcases and relate and utilize it to drive interventions across the enterprise slowly. So that's my point. Another is the customer experience standpoint, because whatever you do, if you can create a differentiated customer experience, that will have a more positive effect on the overall offerings of the organization. So I think these are few of those aspects, which are important. And last but not the least, in manufacturing, especially in plants like chemicals and also in pharma, one is the health and safety and the hygiene part. The other is the reliability of operations, the plant availability and reliability. That's another area which is of extreme importance, because especially in chemicals, you have corrosion issues, you have leakages issues, you have hazards, both in terms of you may have a fire hazard, or you may have a chemical hazard in terms of, so no, it can create it can create pollution, it can create a health hazard in the vicinity. So all that, from that standpoint, that also becomes a very useful use case to start your initiatives and create a more connected factory and a more transparent factory. That's my view.
Yeah, correct. Mr. Rao, would you like to add anything on that in terms of ensuring ROI with the digital transformation and the specific do's and don'ts for the industry?
Yeah, so on the question of ROI, I have my view, which is very similar to what other people have expressed here. That it's a very broad term, to be sort of examined at that level. So I would say that if an industry or if a company is very clear about its priorities and its roadmap, I think the high priority items on which they choose wisely would have a very good chance of having a good ROI. Why I say this is that when an ROI is looked at, generally, there are many ways of looking at it. One is the direct tangible benefits that we have. The other one would be to somehow be able to look at the intangibles, or not I won't call it the intangible, the invisible tangibles that lie there in those efforts. Now, when I say this, it's a possibility everywhere. That could be the argument. But with digitalization, there is a big the invisible part can be very big. We don't realize it. And that we have seen in many cases. That's only because digitalization is one thing which will bring out, due to its 24 hours round the clock working and monitoring of your equipments, it can bring out insights which is almost impossible to be gained if it is not for those 24 hours, 24/7 monitoring. To re-emphasize this point, I had a discussion with the cement manufacturer, and the cement manufacturers in India are at the forefront when it comes to saving of energy. They probably are the world. They have set world benchmarks, which is very tough to beat. So we were talking about digitalization, which would further improve the savings in reality. That can be seen. So that is one part of it. But what the CEO told us struck me very, in a different way. He said, "Look, this is okay, and this has a fantastic ROI. I'll buy for it. But what I want and what I expect from you guys is to tell me that this benchmark that I have, which I'm driving towards, is not the real benchmark." He says, "I'm very clear that the benchmarks that we have set out for ourselves is pretty good, but by themselves, but then they're not good enough. They are not the reality, and that is because I do not have the facility to be sensing all the equipments involved in the energy generation and usage 24/7. And I expect another 20 or 25% increase in the benchmark the moment I do it." So that is the invisible part which I was talking about. Is that going to be really, tangible? I think so, because in that particular industry, that was 3 years back when we had this discussion, I know that they're not at the 25% mark as far as the invisible potential spoke, but there's certainly 10 to 15% there. So these are the things that we should consider. And then of course the other things like health, safety, and all that, if you build in, ROI, I think, would not be a major concern, or should not be a major concern, if you choose wisely. Of course, as somebody said, if you fall in love with the technology and go on investing in unwanted technologies or something which doesn't make sense to your own industry, then it could be a problem. But if you're clear about what you want, what your goals are, and invest rightly, ROI should not be a issue at all. And given the fact that it can be creeping or incremental investments and not the big bang ones, there is enough possibilities that you first recover and then invest further. First recover, then invest further. And that's what I guess one of the speaker was alluding to, that, and it's also further proof that it's working. Because if you're given more funds, it's proof that you're working. So our ROI should not, while it is a concern for most people, I think the realization will dawn that it should not be a huge talking point, and it pays very soon by itself.
Right.
I have just one input to what Mr. Govil and Mr. Subbarao has added. What I see the most important for industry or when we are implementing or moving in this journey is first is we should start believing in a digital system. Sometime what happen, this belief is not coming on digital system. We should also start believing on the power of data. Like, sometime what happens, like a lot of you also touched upon a subject matter expert, but they believe on their knowledge. I appreciate that. It's a good idea. But when the system is in place, then we should also start believing, what is coming out as a data analysis or a big data kind of thing. So we need to have some kind of competency upliftment by which we are inculcating a digital mindset in the employees. So I see these three are also important aspect in this journey. Yeah.
Yes. That's quite valid. Perfect.
Just to add one point, Shekhar.
Yes.
Just to add one point, as we are talking about the digital journey, what we have done at our Kota plant, and it is already in processes, our problem statement should be very clear. What are the actually pain points in the individual process? If these things are identified, 1, 2, 3, so whatever will be the digital journey, the success will be sure, and then ROI will definitely come, because we are addressing the problems. As Mr. Subbarao has also told, that technology is available. But what I am trying to add over here is the technology suitable to meet the pain points of the plant? If these points are addressed, definitely the digital kind of thing will help in not only the smooth operation of the plants, but it will be beneficial to the plants as well as to the working people who are there, because they will feel more safe, more energized. They should have a different kind of attack, because it's totally a mindset. If the vibration is being measured 24/7, and we come to know that this equipment is going to fail in some other certain time of time, the current mindset is it is a problem of the mechanical guys. Yeah. Process people have not to do anything with that. So my submission over here is that it should be understood by the process guys also, that after all they are running the plant. So this kind of concept will definitely come. It will come in a time, but then it will definitely help in upgrading the plant and the more efficient operations.
Correct. We can't just have digitalization for the sake of having it, or just because my competition has having it, so I have to just keep up with the competition. So we need to identify the ROI, of course, and exactly as Mr. Gupta mentioned, the pain points, whether this technology is addressing my pain points, whether there is a right application for the technology for me, and what is in it for me. That the questions we need to ask for before initiating any process.
Yes.
So I think, yeah, that's the very interesting discussion. Thanks to each one of you for presenting your thoughts in a very practical and realistic view, not just the jargons or the theoretical view. All of you shared very good practical thoughts. I'm sure it will have good value to our audience. We'll be making a report of this full session for a more wider audience, so that they will also get some value out of this. So thank you very much, and thanks for your time. Thanks for your thoughts and your participation in the whole session. And we have to agree to the fact that for some time now we have to live with the virus before the vaccinations come into picture. there are some good news coming in from Russia, even from India also, from Serum Institute. They are hoping that the vaccine will be out by the end of this year. So till then, we have to take care of ourselves, take care of our businesses, and in our operations. So thank you again. Over to you, Jui.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Shekhar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks.
Thank you, gentlemen, for that very engaging discussion. And so in today's summit, we did get a lot of insight on the pharma industry which has done truly well in spite of the challenges that it has faced. And we have come to know that we need to create a structure to encourage ideas from team members on process improvements and cost optimization. And it eventually comes down to our ability to involve the entire organization, which is going to count. So ladies and gentlemen, our summit will be now coming to a close. I would like to thank our wonderful audience for being a part of it. I would also like to thank our revered speakers and panelists who engaged us so well. And last but not the least, I would like to thank our association partners, ISA, and event partner, Altair, for organizing this summit with us. Before we go, I am very happy to announce that we have our Smart Manufacturing Summit, which is happening on September 16 next month. So follow our pages, our LinkedIn and Facebook pages to stay updated, and do join us there, and we will be seeing you soon. So I'll see you next time. Till then, take care. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.